Hey, welcome back to the Invigorate podcast. This is where we talk about the day to day challenges and the realities of dealing with autoimmune disease, but more importantly, finding solutions and things to help our journeys.
Always good to be with you all. We're Chris and Karen, autoimmune disease survivors, thrivers, just out here doing our best every day to just make sure we're getting the most out of each and every single day. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about what to do when your body frankly betrays you, when it's malfunctioning, when it goes haywire. In the autoimmune disease world, we talk about this in terms of calling it flares. When you're having a flare.
So, what does flare mean? It can show up in a number of ways. And when we say show up, it's the symptoms. What are you experiencing on a day-to-day basis that is stemming specifically from your autoimmune disease?
Mhm.
The common day-to-day symptoms I deal with are arthritis, joint pain. I have some minor skin issues, but it really depends on the autoimmune disease that you have, your lifestyle, how you're taking
Mhm.
care of yourself, and also like there's environmental factors, stressors, a whole bunch of things that can go into how you feel health wise all the way around. But there's things that you can do to help both prevent them and recover faster so we can go on our merry way.
That's it. That's really the key because I feel like when when you're in the midst of a flare and you don't necessarily know it, like this is like pre-diagnosis, you just feel like you're just overworking yourself. Like I remember when I started having flares, I just assumed it was related to, playing too much basketball in the summertime with my students or being stressed out about grad school. I was getting married. So I'm seeing all of these signs that now I would know is a sign of a flare. But at the time, I'm just like, oh, my elbow hurts. Maybe I lifted up a weight that was too heavy, or I'm sweating a lot at night. Like, I don't know what's going on with that. That just seems weird. Like, there's all these little things that would happen with your body that just made you feel so odd if you don't know exactly what it is. So I think I say all of that to say that if you're someone who is undiagnosed and your body's having unusual symptoms in any sort, like acting in ways that you've never experienced before, I would recommend keeping a log of it so that way you could almost start to see like a certain pattern. And then if there is a particular pattern that shows up, when you're bringing it to your doctor, they know exactly what to look for rather than having to sort of go through that battery of wondering. It could be anything, it could be everything. You don't want that. You really want to hit the ground running with a sort of focus to it.
Yeah, keeping track of your symptoms and just day to day how you're feeling is huge, especially when so many random things come up. It's hard to remember what happened when. And it's like, I forgot 3 months ago that I used to have this random tingling in my hands.
Come on.
And my whole hands would turn white and they would
Right.
just tingle, but then it just stopped and it went away. Being able to track that helps me communicate with my doctor when he knows the intensity and the duration. They can adjust medicine and give you recommendations to help get it under control sooner.
And Karen, you hit on something that I think is really important for the audience. There has to be a difference between the way you talk about what's happening to you, in terms of when you're speaking to like a friend or like a family member, and when you're speaking to your doctor. So if you're telling a story to your friend, you can go and say like, yeah, I don't know, it wasn't cold or anything. My fingers started turning white and blue. Like, yeah, they'll care. But when you're in that doctor's office, that 20-minute, 15-minute appointment, just the facts. Like, just get straight to the facts. Like, for the last 8 days, my fingers have been turning white and blue. For the last 6 days, I've been waking up with shortness of breath. Like, whatever it is, like, just really get to the point where you're able to say it in a way where you're putting together a list of symptoms rather than creating a narrative.
It's important to help you differentiate what's potentially just like your autoimmune disease acting up and you're dealing with just kind of typical day-to-day challenges
Right, right.
versus are you heading towards a full-on flare that
Come
could
on.
do more damage.
Right.
And so, in addition to getting the care you need to manage your flares, it's important for your long term health that your rheumatologist and care team know the difference between, come on, what are kind of ongoing challenges versus
Yeah.
signs that could progress this further.
Right, right, right. Yeah, it's really because I think, and it's especially the beginning of that journey, it's so hard to distinguish what's, to your point, those sort of like everyday struggles versus the real red flags that are saying, hey, something worse is happening to the body. And I think that's where the sort of relationship building between you and your doctor is really going to come into play, where you're able to communicate to them, where you've built up a level of trust with them so that they know, when you're saying this, you're not just someone who's just, being dramatic, or they're not the kind of doctor that's not taking your concerns seriously. You build up that sort of rapport so that, yeah, this is happening, and that the doctors in turn are giving you the right sort of lab. So there's a correlation, like, oh yeah, what you're saying you're experiencing is lining up with what we're seeing in the labs.
So, Chris, can you really tell when a flare is coming, or has it happened where you're just in it all of a sudden and now it's like, I need help? Like,
Yeah, I have had two really severe flares, and with the first one, obviously I wasn't diagnosed, so I had no idea what was happening. I was like, I guess I'm
okay.
just overly stressed, or whatever the case was. I thought it could be anything, but with the second one, I remember I'll pin it for you this way, Karen. It's the feeling of, I love to work out. I try to work out every other day, and I know, if let's say I worked on my arms, if my arms are really fatigued 4 days after, and I haven't touched the arm since, I'm like, something's wrong. And it's something where I remember early in my lupus journey, I couldn't do push-ups well. I had a lot of inflammation in my elbows, so I just couldn't do like the form. And I would still, just young and hard-headed, was like, I'm gonna just like power through the pain and like make it happen. And when I tell you that had me in pain for days going into weeks. And I think whenever I've had a flare, it's a sort of like soreness that just never goes away and starts to intensify. It's not like a good sore after like a good run or a good lift. It's the sort of sore that just gets stronger and just like weighs you down. You can kind of feel like a heaviness in your legs. You don't feel you don't feel excited to go back to the gym. You don't feel excited to go back to playing pickup basketball, or go for another run. You feel like every time you were to try to do that, you'd be making your body hurt even more. So for me, I've always linked it in terms of my ability, desire, and willingness to go back to working out. Whenever those are like severely
Yeah.
hampered, I'm like, oh, we're in a bad spot. So I try to shut it down, but hopefully I can shut it down early, because there have been times, obviously, with the second flare where I shut it down too late, and the flare just took off.
Yeah. And I think the longer you live with these diseases, you get
Mhm.
more in tune with your body.
Absolutely.
And I've experienced this with working out. You can tell when it's true muscle soreness or like
Right.
workout fatigue, like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to do a few more crunches or push ups
Yes, yes, yes.
versus you're having elbow pain. I have a lot of pain in my wrists. And so push
Yeah.
ups are hard for me.
Oh, of course.
Side tip though, even if you can just hold on to weights, put weights on the ground and hold on to weights,
Yeah,
that is a game changer for the
yeah.
wrist pressure,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
especially if you have arthritis in there.
yeah. That's a veteran tip, y'all. It's a veteran tip.
But you can tell it's a difference between just normal aches and pains and if it's lasting longer. And for me, the soreness turns into a throbbing. We always think of pain as a bad thing,
Right.
but pain is a signal to yourself that it's
Yeah.
like, hey, you're pushing it. So literally, we should not push through this
Do
right
not push through
now.
this, right? You're in danger. Yes.
So when you've crossed that point and you are in danger, the engine light is flashing,
Come
you've done
on.
too much.
Right.
What's your game plan then, Chris?
If I can, I just try to shut it down. I can't emphasize enough the importance of finding some time. I understand not everyone has the liberty to do this. Some people have to work 7 days a week. Some people are caregivers, different situations, right? But if you can find one day a week where you don't have anything to do, right? And you can still like, that could be the day where you say, I'm just gonna like go to the park or go to the museum, do something very like it could be I'm just gonna go to the couch, like whatever you need, and just really allow yourself to just, be restored by nothing. Just like being restored by just having a clear calendar and not filling up, and just enough not enough can be said about the importance of getting a lot of sleep at night. Not enough can be said about hydrating, really eating the right foods, because if you're adding, that sort of soreness that we're talking about, to junk food or like fast food, you're really complicated because your body has to work so hard to break those foods down. So your body's already exhausted. Now you're giving it even more work to do. That's not fair to yourself. So just really, for me, it's about taking that sort of time, if you're able to just really slow things down considerably. Like I think I know it saves lives to do that.
And naturally, our culture and us, we don't want to do that. We want to
Not at
push
all.
through.
Yeah. And it's hard because you're going to miss opportunities that you would have if you did push through. You're going to have to turn down things that sound like cool or exciting, or just like, yeah, sure, I could. I'm not even necessarily talking about business, but like, yeah, I can go grab a beer with y'all. Like, no, don't do that. Like, go to bed. Like that's what you actually need to do. Just go to bed. And so thinking about those sort of extra things we do to, like, whether it's maintaining our career or social or relationships in that way, you have to sort of like readjust it. So maybe instead of going out to that bar on Friday night, maybe it is, having a few friends over and y'all, watching a movie, or y'all like drink at the house. Whatever it is, it's like find another way to do things, so you can still have a quality of life, but you're reducing the wear and tear.
For sure. So, one of my favorite stories of doing just that was I was leaving a long day at work. I was supposed to meet my girlfriends for dinner, and I was just tired. I had
Right.
had enough, tapped out. Like, no, I can't do it. So I texted all of them and I was like, can't do it. I'm tired. Like, I just need to go home. And one of my best friends was like, you can totally say no, but we're
Mhm,
happy to come over to your house and just hang at your house, and then you can go to bed. You don't have to drive, whatever.
mhm.
So my girlfriends drove the extra half hour all the way to my house so we could still have our girls' night. It's very important to have supportive friends and family who
Mhm.
can help you flex as needed in those times when you can't do it all.
Right, right. And just really not trying to be a superhero, and accepting the help from loved ones and family and friends, I think is really critical, because there's going to be times like, I mean, your friends sound like top shelf world class human beings, right? Like just to drive that extra 30 minutes and hang out, but just really accepting that help and accepting that sense of, I can't make it, so I need help. But also I think having that kind of relationship with your friends where if you say I can't make it, and maybe they're not going to necessarily drive to you, that they understand that you're not just trying to like ditch them. You're not trying to flake on them. It's really, sometimes for us who go through these flares, it's a game time decision. We don't know, we might have made the plans a month ago, and now today we feel like junk. It's not that we don't want to see. We really want to see, but our bodies betrayed us.
Yeah, and there's so much guilt and you feel bad
Oh,
about
awful.
bailing,
Yes.
but I think the more you can proactively communicate, and I'm an open book when it comes to my lupus and my challenges,
Come on,
but
right.
being transparent, I think, helps people understand so they know, like, I'm not just bailing tonight. Like, it was a long day and I'm struggling. And yeah, they don't have to make the extra effort, but by at least sharing what you can about your situation, they can try to understand. And they may not understand, and that's
Right.
okay too.
Mhm.
But as long as you're doing what's best for you and communicating what's best for you, you'll find
Mhm.
your people. And if
Absolutely.
they're not supportive, then you'll find better people in your life.
That too, right, right. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, I think that's really it. Like, if you're, it's bad enough for just anyone, like, autoimmune or not, to feel like you have to like chase friends and like hold on to them. It's like this is just an extra stressor you do not need. If you're saying to your friends, I have lupus or I have celiacs or Sjogren's or whatever the situation is that's putting you in this flare, and they're like, oh, just tough it out. Those people don't care about you. Just just move on with your life because they're
Move
going,
on.
they're moving on with theirs. Yeah, peace, peace, peace. 100%, 100%. What have
But
been your remedies? What have you been doing, like, to sort of like help you whenever going back to that sort of like Friday night situation and you're like, I can't move. Like, your friends are there, but like, what do you do? Like, are y'all like, they have like an Epsom salt bath for your feet? Like, what are they doing?
well, to be honest, like me and my girlfriend, we were just sitting on my deck talking about life. Like,
There you go.
just it's friend therapy, right?
Yeah, that's it.
But when I'm truly trying to handle my symptoms, as you mentioned, rest and recovery is so important. And
Mm.
that's why it's important to get your friends and family and support networks on board so that, especially with little kids, if you have kids,
Ooh, yeah.
it's like you need that extra support to be able to get the rest you need, because it's like we can't be chasing toddlers making meals and getting the extra sleep we need to fight fatigue. So you just need help, and that's just the matter of it is what it is,
It
right?
is what it is, exactly.
The other thing though is, like, during your rest, I have found that sometimes my flares they'll last weeks, even months. I've
Right.
even yeah. So especially with us, like, kind of type A wanting to do stuff, to be
Yeah.
stuck in bed and not feeling well it's painful. You feel like the world is passing you by.
Oh, talk about that. Yeah, absolutely. The bed. I never knew the bed could feel like a prison. Like it's like I'm trapped in
Right.
this bed. Right.
But I found that even there's a silver lining to everything, right?
Right. Right.
So one silver lining to our culture being more sedentary is that we have resources at our fingertips without
True.
being physically active.
This is true.
So I could be laying in bed and I'm listening to podcasts,
Right.
whether something entertaining or I want to learn more about, or I need some, like, just meditation space, whatever. Just that audio for whatever space I'm in can take you out of that prison of a bed
Right.
and the four walls that are surrounding you, and if you feel stuck, like, just mentally you can get out of that space and you can get some relief that way
Hmm.
while you're dealing with the physical pain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about some of the apps I've been using to help me like meditate or like breathe properly. Just really, I mentioned that because all those different strategies can help so much with pain management and just really just I can't over explain what it feels like for simple tasks to become so difficult just because, you know, we talked about arthritis earlier. I remember, at one point during a flare, being able to like feel every bone in my hand. It just was just that kind of excruciating pain. If let's say someone's making spaghetti and they want you to open a can of sauce, and you're just like, I cannot make this. This motion's not happening. I can't do it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so
there's times where it's like you can't even lift your arms, so it's
no.
like, and in those moments, that's when I would say it's you need to work with your care team, but like sidebar veteran tip, like your rheumatologist isn't going to be the best person to manage pain.
Right.
So so for me personally, when I was in the height of my flares, I actually went to a pain clinic that specialized in chronic pain,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they were able to get me on the oxycodone for a short
Hmm.
period of time just to get through the height of it. And then once we got the other medicine in control, then it just progressed from there.
Yeah.
My point being that pain is difficult.
Difficult.
So if you can leverage whether going through to finding a pain clinic, I highly recommend meditation and learning how to breathe through
I'm
pain
telling you.
makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
So, Chris, you never meditated before you went through all this, right?
You know what? I've always been like a little bit like of a monk on the side. So I think I used to kind
Oh,
of
heck yes.
I think I always used to just do some sort of meditation um on the side. But what really in terms of the breathing, it's funny. My wife is a doula, and so a lot of what she was
Oh,
telling her
yeah.
clients, during labor was things I would use during a flare. I'm not saying that my flare hurt as much as giving birth. I don't think that's
You're
true.
fine.
I don't think that's true, but I'm just saying
You can't compare. It's
I
fine.
can't. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm talking about with that when it comes to that. But I do know that it helped me in terms of just dealing with the pain I was feeling, just like really just focusing on the breathing. It felt miraculous, you know?
Yeah. And when I say I don't want to compare because I've been through both, but
Right, right.
it's a different kind of pain. And I'm
Okay.
not saying and one is worse than
Right.
the other.
Got you.
We all have different experiences and experience pain
That's
differently
true.
at the
Pain
end of
does
the
show up.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah. And no one wants to go through pain, but it is what it is,
yeah.
right?
That's the truth. That's the truth.
But your experience with your wife and what I've learned through meditation is like your breath is a powerful tool
Ooh,
and that
yeah,
can get you through anything.
I really can.
I will say, so I've had at least 8 surgeries
Uh huh.
due to, yeah, because of lupus and the medications I was taking.
Right.
I have had some bone issues, um, and whatnot. And so I went through a lot of surgeries and just learning how to, I would naturally just like tense up.
Come on.
It's like waiting for this pain to pass, like
Right.
get this over with.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
you can learn to just kind of relax, it's like let the blood flow and it can make all the world the difference. So even if you're not into meditation or any of that, it's like just explore some basic breath work and that can help you with pain management.
Absolutely. I know some people had suggested to me. I never tried it, like acupuncture, as another way of dealing with it. And I think about it in the sense of sometimes, like, if you're feeling pain over here, you can't focus on pain over there. So maybe like the needle going in, you don't really focus on what the pain was in the first place. So I never tried it, but I know for some people, there's been like a mixed bag. Like, is that something you've had experience with acupuncture?
I've tried acupuncture, but when I tried it, I was in the height of one of my flares, and
Okay.
I don't know if it was just I was hoping for a single fix or whatever, but I didn't have great luck with it. But it very much could have been my experience in the time that I tried it.
Mm.
I'd be curious to go back and look into it again.
Yeah, yeah. I heard
The
that.
other piece, I've heard really good things about infrared saunas.
Right, right.
So they create, well, it's just like a natural stressor to your body.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
it, so it replicates what you would do exercising. Like
Right.
your temperature's heating up, you're sweating out whatever your body
You
doesn't
put out, yeah, yeah.
need. But it's not as intense as a traditional sauna where you're
Yeah.
sitting in, like, I don't even know what those temperatures
Oh,
are,
I
but I
feel like
hate the heat and I couldn't do this.
that's what I was gonna say. I feel like in the middle of a flare, I would just mess around, pass out, like they just find me in that hot house just on the floor with a towel. That's not what you want.
So I think like acupuncture and infrared saunas and those things are good preventative
Yeah,
measures and just things you can add on to your regular routine if you can fit it in and it
yeah,
works for you, great.
yeah.
But it like everything, nothing's an end all be
No,
all.
no,
It's
no.
just, hey, you got to take it all and do what works for you specifically at that period of time in your life. Because what may not work now may work later,
Very
and
true.
vice versa. So,
Very true. And I think it allows you sort of like the sunny side of it is I think it's allowed me to really pay attention to my body in a way that I might not have otherwise. And just really being attentive to my body and saying like, okay, I don't need to do I don't need to go the extra mile with this. I don't need to wear myself down with this. Because prior to this, I had such a mentality of just like, just keep going, keep going, keep going, like all gas, no brakes. And now I definitely have a sort of like, taking it methodical and case by case. And almost I've joked about it in terms of going from like a full court press in basketball to acting like a pitcher in baseball. Like you're not trying to throw a whole bunch of pitches in a row. You're really taking your time and measuring each pitch and okay, this is gonna be a curve or is it gonna be a fastball? Like what am I gonna do? A slider? Like just really taking your time with it. So that's why I try to live my life now much more methodical rather than just like all gas, no brakes.
yeah, I think that's so critical to approaching autoimmune disease in general and
Right.
taking care of ourselves.
That's true.
Even if you don't have an autoimmune disease, it's like our culture is all gas, no brakes.
Right, right, right.
So training yourself to slow down and making sure that you are being very intentional about those moments throughout the day. My favorite thing that you said before we jumped on here was you needed that hour of space to
Ooh.
just decompress between your prior engagements and jumping on here.
Yeah.
But that space is what keeps you a functioning, healthy, well-rounded human being. If you
That
didn't do that, you'd be on here stressed out and your body
raggedy.
would be nuts. Like,
Raggedy. It would be so bad. It'd be so bad. But just that little moment, hour, whatever it was, of just stillness was just so it was what I imagine like a cup of coffee is for some people, a quick nap is for other people, a walk around the block. But for me, it was just sitting there doing nothing, and it was just couldn't have asked for a nicer way to sort of transition my evening.
so there are no silver bullets, but if there's anything close, I would say that's the closest thing
Yeah,
is
yeah,
finding those, whether it's an hour or even 2 minutes, 5 minutes,
right.
giving yourself that space where there's nothing happening. The TV's not on, the radio's not on, you're not looking at your phone. It's just quiet.
Quiet. Yeah, no, seriously. I think we just in general are so overstimulated, and that has become sort of like the norm. That when you
Yeah,
allow yourself to be what would feel like understimulated, but is most of human history just regular, it pays off dividends for sure.
for sure. Chris, I could talk to you about this for days.
Oh, likewise,
If
like
Yeah, yeah. So, but if there's anything our audience specifically wants to know more about managing flares or dealing with just the unpredictableness, drop us a note. We'd
mhm.
love to chime in, help provide whatever resources we can. Because like we've said and you've heard throughout this episode, it's unique to each individual and disease, and what works for you may not work for everyone. So we're here to just help navigate this together.
Absolutely. We want to thank you all so much for listening. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Give us a rating. 5 stars, please, on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a review. Let us know you're listening. Tell us where you're from, all that good stuff. Let us know who you are. And make sure that you check out every single episode. We have info for our sources. Make sure you check that out as well. So until next time, please take care of yourself.
Keep striving, guys. We appreciate you guys. Take care.
Take care.